Welcome back. I'm MTG Joe, and today we're changing things up a little. So I was browsing through the Arena subreddit, and it seemed like a question that kept coming up with a lot of people was decks that are primarily what was previously called block constructed, so the most recent sets. So it seems like a lot of people are new to MTG Arena, having come on during the last two Ravnica sets. So their card pool is pretty much exclusively from these more recent sets. So they were looking for decks that didn't involve a lot of old cards. So I thought I'd put together a couple different variations to see what can be put together with limited non-Ravnica cards. So the only caveat that I kind of kept for myself was the mana base. That we would use older, like the check lands, just because having a good mana base is important to the overall deck performance. So the first deck we're going to be playing is a card called around a card called Cavalcade of Calamity. So this is a 2 mana enchantment. So whenever a creature you control with power 1 or less attacks, Cavalcade of Calamity deals 1 damage to the player or planeswalker that creature is attacking. So notable with this card is you can deal indirect damage to planeswalkers, but your creatures need to be pointed towards those planeswalkers. You can't attack the opponent and then redirect the damage back to a planeswalker. So, as I mentioned, the only cards that aren't from either Guilds of Ravnica or Ravnica Legion is the Clifftop Retreats in the side. And because this deck was geared more towards newer players, it's relatively cheap in terms of the number of rare cards. So there's only 10 rares and there's no mythics in this list. I tried to keep it as cheap as possible. And in all honesty, you can probably cut down 2 of the Swiftblade Vindicators from the list. So the mana base is pretty standard right now. We're running 20 lands, split of 6 plains, 6 mountains, 4 clifftop, 4 sacred foundries, and then we have our 1 power creature. So as much as possible, we want to take advantage of 1 power. So we have Hazda Marshal. So when you ever attack with him and at least 2 other creatures, you create a 1/1 white soldier. We have Draft Bomb, in my opinion, Healer Hawk, so an evasive 1 mana flyer. You have Hunted Witness, which is effectively 2 bodies for 1/1. And then you have Goblin Banneret. So what this card does is it allows you to attack as a 1/1, get the trigger, and then pump it up as a mana sink to deal extra damage. We have 2 Swiftblade Vindicators, so this will get 2 attacks in as a 1/1. And then we have 2 Sworn Companions, so it just creates some more 1/1s. And then just rounding out, we have Light Up the Stage, which is basically a card draw. We get indirect spectacle damage just to refill our hands. It's very easy for us to drop our hand in the first couple turns, as well as Skewer the Critics that can serve as either removal or reach to deal those last points of damage. And then finally, we have Conclave Tribunal, which in our deck can be a 1 mana exile anything. And then I'm trying out 4 integrity interventions. So we can attack with a 1/1 and then power it up to 3/3, or we can use the Lightning Helix side, which will deal 3 damage to any target and gain us 3 life. So I played a couple games with this off stream. I was able to take down both Esper and Mono Blue in best of 1. I don't know how good this deck is, if good at all, in a best of 3. It folds really hard to Cry of Carnarium and other sweepers. So I think we'd benefit from just the element of surprise in a best of 1 format. So we'll take it through for a couple games. Notable inclusions that if you do have some rare cards from older sets is so you can add, I would suggest adding in Goblin Instigator. You get 2 1/1s for 2 mana. The Fanatical Firebrand, just a haste 1/1 that can deal ping damage. And then, Legion Warboss. So this just keeps making reoccurring 1/1s here. We can also try out in another build, maybe Goblin Gathering as a potential refill. Actually, you know what? Let's try that out. Let's go down a couple of these and the Sworn Companions and play 4 of these. forgot this card. It works better in a scales, and then late draws it's not as dead because it just keeps adding more. So there is some revisions you can add in, but we'll play it with as is, just being a block constructed deck. So I'm going to put this through and just play normal best of one to see how good the deck is before we kind of proceed further in that case. So if you're a fan of the channel or you just like the video and you want to support in any way, one of the easiest ways to do so that costs you absolutely nothing is just hitting that subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner. It just helps me build up the channel to start getting to some of the YouTube thresholds to start being able to pump out more content at a consistent basis. So if you can, it's a really easy way to help out the channel and help me keep producing more of these style of videos as well. Also, as a general feedback, if you can, I just got a new mic. Let me know how it sounds on your end, if it's any improvement from past videos. So I'm hoping this will smooth out some of the audio qualities others have commented on in past videos. So this hand's a little awkward. We can't play the Banneret on one, but we have to double Calamity, so I think we keep regardless. I find with this deck too, you want to lead off on a couple of your 1-drops first, and then play the Banneret. So we'll just lead off with the Clifftop here. We do this in case that we draw like one of our white 1-drops. We can double creature next turn. So it looks like we're against Gruul aggro. This deck's going to get a lot bigger than us, and us missing the 1-drop. So here, this is what I was saying. We can both Banneret here and Hunted Witness. So this is probably a tough matchup to begin with, all their creatures being a lot bigger than ours. So opponent gives it haste, and they smack in for 9. Well, no blocks here. So what we'll do this turn is we'll drop our first Calamity. So we will likely get rid of the Pelt Collector just because it can grow larger. So here I'm just going to attack in with 1. And play Skewer the Critics. Once they get to 4 power, it's difficult for us to be able to remove them. So if we draw a land next turn, we can double Calamity. If not, we can attack with 1, you get the trigger, and light up the stage. So here we'll block as such, and we get the other body on the flip side. Opponent plays Rhythm of the Wild, and they've missed a land drop. So here we'll attack for 1. Hit our opponent for the damage, gain a life back. So I want to get some more creatures out, potentially hit a land drop. So we get 2 lands here. So we can just load up for a future turn. So depending if they have another creature here with haste. Okay, so they do have the other creature with haste, so we're going to have to block. So it looks like we've fallen behind on this one. If they didn't have the trample damage, we could have dropped the 3rd Calamity with the pump, so it would have been 9, 12, and then with the pump 14 damage, so almost enough. So we'll concede on this one here. Like I said, it's a tough matchup. We usually want to be the quicker deck, but with this one here, all their creatures tend to be a couple toughness larger than ours, so we'll play it through a couple more. Let me know in the comments as well if there's some of the other build around cards from the new set that you're interested, or some of the archetypes. I'm thinking that for the next one, we'll explore some sort of black-white afterlife build. Another one that just seems resilient. There could be like an aristocrat style. So this hand here we'll keep. We can go Marshal on 1, and then depending what we're playing, either play out the Cavalcade or the Light Up the Stage in the hopes of drawing more creatures. This deck does benefit a lot more. You really want to go first, just to be able to get under. There may be some consideration as well if you're able to go beyond the set. There's Healer Hawk and Squad, the 1/2 flyer from I think Core Set for 1 mana, just to be able to get above the ground creatures to do those just additional pokes of damage. So we're playing against another creature deck here, so we can test out the Goblin Gathering in this build. So we'll play the Marshal here. The nice thing is about the merfolks, they can get large, and other than the unblockable ones, they don't really have a way to play with trample. So even if they get to a 5/5, a 6/6, whatever it may be, our 1/1s can still chump, and we can get in the ping damage that way. So River Snake is one of the tougher things for us to deal with, so we'll have no blocks here. So here we'll play Cavalcade, attack for 1. If they're willing to trade off the River Sneak, I would take that trade. Next turn, we can Goblin Gathering and then apply some pressure. Kumena is a roadblock for us. Okay, so opponent isn't attacking here. So I think here we need to decide what's the most mana efficient. So we can get the 1/1s this way. However, if we play this and attack, we get 2 more 1/1s afterwards, and then we get the Banneret as well. Let's just play this out. We're going to have to start just throwing our creatures into the creatures. The fact that they didn't even attack with like the 2/2s is kind of strange. You have Kumena to hold back. So they're just looking to draw more cards. I would think the opponent would be more interested in racing. They are bigger and can close out the game faster than us right now. So they incubation, looking for some more creatures. So they get their Lord. So this is something we'll look to kill with Skewer the Critics. See if they attack in now. So they attack for 3. So we do have a choice here. We can Skewer the Critics prior to attacking. So this would either force them to tap their creatures to draw a card and let us get in for an attack, but we will have to pay 3 mana as opposed to 1 mana off Spectacle after. I think I kind of like that line a bit better. Ideally, if we drew another land, That would also help to just play out another threat. Perfect. So here, I want to play out another Marshal. So we'll skewer the Critic the Lord. So they opt not to tap their creatures here. So they can block 2 creatures, likely the Marshal and another one, but we get 2 and then still have 3 creatures for the following turn. We'll get in 4 points of damage this turn. You're not playing this deck to not attack. Your creatures are basically just throwaways, that they're just all here to ping additional damage. Then we'll just play out another Marshal and pass the turn. So next turn we'll replicate the attacks, and then we'll try to play a light up the stage to hopefully draw into another Goblin Gathering. So opponent's still digging. Kumena Speaker, just a bear at this point. Opponent shocks themselves and looks to tap down. So the tapping down the Marshal hurts a bit since we don't get another token. So no blocks. They hit us for 7. So we go down to 8. Then we'll go back up to 9 with the lifelink. Not sure why the opponent's playing so slow. So this is one of the slower games too, just because we haven't been able to get the Spectacle. We've been playing full cost with some of them. The games that I was playing against Esper and some of the other decks, because they don't really have early creatures, it's a little bit easier to get under them. Okay, so here attack for 1. Attacking with the life linker just to gain a life back, just in case they have a way to bounce the token. So it trades it off here. We go back up to 9. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So we need at least 1 blocker back. So here we'll play light up the stage. This card in the red deck does help us refill quite a bit. So I was hoping for a banner at Goblin Gathering, just to give us some more bodies. Pass turn. Mistcloak Herald, that's fine. So the opponent needs to be mindful because they can take a good chunk of damage on the crackback. So if they attack with everything, that's okay. Well, sleep beats it. They had the tapped card there, so couldn't really play around that. We would have blocked, attack with 3, get another 3 in. So hopefully the deck was built to prey on like slower control builds. Instead, we've been playing against mid-range, which aggro usually always has some trouble against. This hand's a keep. Marshall into Swiftblade, into Light Up the Stage. I haven't really got this out yet, so I'm curious to see how it plays. If it's something worth putting in, or just going with one of the... There's the haste 1-drop goblin that you could pay 1 red mana to allow it to be basically unblockable, which might be better at just pushing through residual damage. I know in draft that was very good. So this might be the Rakdos mid-range deck. So opponent plays Lava Coil here. So I was hoping for a second red source. So I think here we attack for 1, play Light Up the Stage. Ugh, that's gross. So we're a little punished on mana here. I'm considering to put 1 or 2 Guild Gates. Just, we do have a lot of color-specific cards. And I've noticed at times we've been short 1 mana versus the other. So this is Jund. So here, I think we just skewer here. That allows them to get ahead on mana, so we want to keep them off that. So this might be a Judith build where they're sacking the goblins and are playing the green source for the Chain Whirler Death Touch combo. Oddly enough, this card aligns very well against the deck. Journey to Eternity. When a China Tutor dies, return to the battlefield under your control, then flip it. So opponent gets some value there. So here, I think what we do is play it like this. My dog says hi. So opponent loses out that way. And I think we pass the turn here. Next turn, we could give them the option to see if they want to get rid of the Marshal or block against the Banneret. We do just fold to Chain Whirler, which is a little tough. So if opponent does have it, so they play Ravenous Chupacabra here. So we are flooding a bit. A Light Up the Stage would be good, or some Goblin Gatherings. So no blocks on our side. Yeah, so Siege Gang is very difficult. Yeah, so we'll concede this one. So some odd showings with the deck. I don't know if it was just coincidence, the other ones I played against. But we'll run it back for 1 more. Hopefully get a win at least. This is part of the reason we're not playing in ranked, just because we're not taking optimal lists. We could look at another one where we are playing a couple better cards from the older set, but the goal of this series was to play cards that are easily available. So I like this hand. We got 1-drop into 2 other 1-drops. So we're leading with the Hunted Witness here, because if they have the shock, we still have the body after. So next turn, ideally we'd like to hit a land, so that way we can Calamity plus Banneret. This might be Sultai, it might be some sort of Simic deck. Oh, so it is that. So not terrible. If opponent wants to trade this, they can. But this allows us to go fairly wide already. So these are kind of the draws that I had the other games. So seeing what, so they play Merfolk Branchwalker, so they can power it up. That's fine. So Simic, so they make them 2/2s. So we'll play a land out here and play out the Cavalcade. Attack with everything. So tons of triggers on the stack. So even before damage, we're dealing a big chunk of change, so the opponent blocks the marshals there. But they effectively replace themselves here, and then just next turn, we have lethal just on the swing. So that's a turn 5 win. But we basically present lethal on turn 4. Silver Gill Adepts, that's fine. If they don't have sleep, they can't win this one. They can make them as big as they want. And opponent concedes. So this is a good game to show what the deck can do. So we'll get some more videos in another episode. But let me know what you think and if there's any other build around me cards that you're interested in. Thanks for watching and have a good one.